The election will go on. A lawsuit claims a measure upper vote in Elsa goes against state law. An Hidalgo County judge said no yesterday and signed a temporary restraining order. Channel 5's Leslie Aguilar says today that all changed.
Right now, that special election is scheduled to happen as planned. Early voting starts on Monday. If Amendment 29 passes, both the Housing Authority and the city will end up in court. Posted outside Elsa City Hall is a notice of election. Voters will decide whether to adopt these 35 separate amendments to the city charter. Amendment 29 is stirring controversy. It would give the Elsa city manager the power to appoint people to the board of the Elsa Housing Authority. The Housing Authority's attorney, Marisa Carranza Hernandez, says state law gives that power to the mayor, not the city manager.
Our sense of urgency stems from the fact that anytime we're doing anything that is even remotely close to not following the law, we're going to be scrutinized for it, and ultimately it's our citizens, our residents, that suffer.
The state statute says the presiding officer of the governing body of a municipality shall appoint people to run the housing authority. Hernandez points to an attorney general opinion. It states only the mayor can make appointments for public housing commissioners. Elsa City Attorney Gustavo Acevedo uses the same AG opinion in his argument.
I read it differently than she does. That's what it comes down to. She obviously wants to read it in her favor, and I read it in favor of my clients.
Acevedo says all the proposed amendments were recommended by a consultant the city hired to look over their charter. The charter stayed the same since the 1980s.
So there were provisions in the charter which weren't even ballot law anymore. That had been overruled. So there were a bunch of changes that needed to be made, and that's the result of that's why we're having this charter amendment election.
We tried to get reaction from people who live in the housing authority, but nobody we spoke to even knew there was an election going on, even though all of the amendments are posted in the local paper. The Elsa Housing Authority helps more than 200 families.
We don't want any issues down the road that would cause problems with our funding.
That's why Hernandez filed a temporary restraining order to stop Amendment 29 from going to a vote. The amendment couldn't come off the ballot without scrapping the entire election, so it will remain on the ballot.
If it passes, then we agreed to go back to court and let the judge decide its validity.
Election day is May 6th. If Amendment 29 passes, the City and Housing Authority will meet in Judge Juan Partita's court on May 8th. In Elsa, Leslie Aguilar, Channel 5 News at 6.
An extra note to Leslie's story. Some Elsa voters expressed concern that the election wasn't announced to the public until 5 days before the start of early voting. State law only requires that it be announced at least 2 weeks before Election Day. You can read more about the Elsa amendments and check out all the races that we're following for the May 6th election. Just log on to our website at krgv.com and then click on our Vote 2017 banner. And a reminder that early voting begins on Monday, April 24th.